Welcome, everyone. This is Inside the Americas. Coming up, Lula went into the first round of Brazil's presidential race as the clear favorite, but he's flagging in the second round. A look at how his camp is scrambling to get the former leader reelected, coming up. Then, abortion is one of the big hot-button issues in the U.S. midterm elections in November. Annette Young reports from the southern state of Kentucky. And it's not the great pumpkin, Charlie Brown, but pretty close. We'll take a look at the heaviest pumpkin in America ahead of Halloween. I'm Jeannie Godula. Well, there are less than 3 weeks to go till the second round in Brazil's presidential election. And as the days go by, supporters of former leftist president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who went into the first round as the frontrunner, are worried their candidate could lose. His momentum's been on the decline ever since incumbent conservative Jair Bolsonaro made a stronger than expected showing in round one. Catherine Viette has more now on how Lula's pulling out all the stops to make his case before the vote, October 30th.
Barely 5 points separate the two rivals. So presidential contender Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has made it his mission to convince voters he's the right man for the job. Lula's increased the number of his appearances, like here in Belo Horizonte, the capital of Minas Gerais, where he polled behind Jair Bolsonaro in the first round. Lula's hoping to sway some voters from the incumbent's camp.
To straighten out Brazil, Lula is the only chance the country has to return to the world stage. As it stands, it's completely secluded.
Lula is also seeking new allies in São Bernardo do Campo, in the state of São Paulo, a region which supported Bolsonaro. Meeting with various groups, Lula vowed to enact the will of the people.
I can't make mistakes. I don't have time to make mistakes. I have 4 years in office.
The pressure is immense ahead of the second round of voting. The latest figures published by the Datafolha Institute aren't very reassuring. In the space of a week, Lula dropped 5 points in the polls. His Workers' Party is also struggling. 46% of voters say they will never vote for Lula. That's almost as many as those who reject Bolsonaro. With this backdrop, Lula needs the endorsements of fellow politicians like Simone Tebet, who came in third in the first round of the presidential election, even if the support came with qualifications.
My support is not through membership to parties. My support is for a Brazil that I dream of for all, inclusive, generous, without hunger or misery, with quality education and health, with sustainable development.
With almost 50 million voters, the powerful evangelical bloc is a prize both candidates have their eye on.
Religion is like a division of vote. The evangelical vote has made its mark on regions of the southeast where they are particularly well established, like the states of Rio and Sao Paulo. Where they are less well established is in the northeast, the region that mainly voted for Lula.
Surrounded by evangelical pastors in São Gonçalo, a poor suburb of Rio de Janeiro, Lula put his faith on display, making one last appeal to again occupy the presidential office.
Another election now in the United States where the midterms are less than 1 month away. Local and statewide races are being held across the country with all 435 seats of the House and a third of the Senate up for grabs. A lot of the media focus has been on the Senate race in Georgia. Republican candidate and former football icon Herschel Walker says he supports a national ban on abortions. But scandal erupted when a woman accused Walker of paying for her to have an abortion in 2009. Evidence is growing against him, and even his own son has come out against his dad, calling him a liar. But 2 U.S. senators have gone to Georgia to back Walker, showing just how determined some Republicans are to win back the majority in the Senate, no matter what. Abortion has become one of the big hot-button issues in the midterms, as our Annette Young told us from Kentucky.
The decision by the US Supreme Court in July to roll back the constitutional right to accessing abortion has turned these midterms into a milestone election for American women voters. And nowhere more than here in the southern state of Kentucky. Following that decision in July, Kentucky went ahead and banned abortion outright. Now, on November 8th, it's asking its citizens to also ensure that there can be no legal recourse. In other words, no court can force the state to go back on that decision. Kentucky is not alone. There are a number of other states which are also pursuing a very tough or stringent abortion laws. However, this is indeed a very polarising issue. By contrast, California, Vermont and Michigan are asking their citizens to enshrine abortion rights as part of their constitution. And on a national level, it's also causing many women to register and sign up as new voters, something which both parties are somewhat taken aback, even the Democrats. So this indeed will be an election to watch, and no doubt abortion rights will make it even more so.
And you can see Annette Young's 51% show focusing on abortion from Kentucky coming out November 4th. Well, there are many news stories from the Americas this week. Here's more from Easter Island, Venezuela, and Haiti.
Protesters continue to take to the streets in Haiti's capital as the country grapples with the growing insecurity problem, a humanitarian crisis, and a worsening cholera epidemic. Anti-government demonstrators are calling for the Prime Minister's resignation after Ariel Henry appealed for foreign intervention to bring the situation in Haiti under control. It's a call the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and regional heavyweights say they're ready to answer.
This is a status quo that cannot persist, and we will continue to work and to speak with international partners on ways that we can facilitate the delivery of vital humanitarian assistance to the Haitian people, including critical medical support to address the cholera outbreak.
The death toll continues to mount over in Venezuela, the country reeling from its worst natural disaster in decades. Heavy rainfall over the past weekend caused a river 50 kilometers away from the capital Caracas to overflow and resulted in a deadly landslide. According to officials, over 300 homes which were built in zones considered at risk have been destroyed. President Nicolas Maduro toured the affected neighborhoods and pledged new homes to all those affected, adding the city of 50,000 would rise from the ashes. A forest fire ripped through parts of Easter Island off the west coast of Chile. According to authorities, the area around the Rano Raraku volcano, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was the most affected. The full extent of the devastation is not known, but some of the island's famous stone carvings have been charred. The fire comes 3 months after Easter Island reopened to tourism following the COVID-19 pandemic. The local mayor says the damage the fire has caused to the heritage site cannot be undone.
Next to Mexico, where the government is taking aim at child obesity. It's set to pass a law that would ban the sale and distribution of sugary drinks in Mexican schools. The decision hopes to also fight childhood diabetes, a disease that has risen 22 times over since the 90s. Quentin Duval reports.
Over the past 2 years, Ruth has completely changed her eating habits. On the menu this lunchtime, chicken cutlets stuffed with cheese and spinach.
We used to eat them breaded with oil. We used to put breadcrumbs, egg with fried potatoes. Yes, it was much more fatty.
Like her, 300 families are following a program at the National Institute of Pediatrics. This is the case for Gabriel and his parents. The young boy is overweight and has pre-diabetes.
I'm counting on you to include more fruit and vegetables, and the other important point is legumes.
Dr. Ana Lelia Ventura Rodriguez assists families in preventing the development of type 2 diabetes in children.
Normally, type 2 diabetes develops from the age of 40, but now we're seeing children as young as 8 or 10 suffering from the disease. It's something that should worry us as a society. When we explain it to parents, they realize the dangers and become motivated to take action.
As soon as I started to gain weight, I developed diabetes, and I don't want my son to have a health problem that will affect his quality of life or his lifespan.
Lifestyle also contributes to the development of diabetes and obesity. 8 million people in Mexico work more than 56 hours a week. Street food and sodas are popular with these busy workers. Ruth and her family also suffer from this fast pace, but they share this balanced meal together in front of the children's school.
We get overwhelmed by all of it, by everything we have to do. We don't give ourselves time to be with our children. So there we are not at home, but at least we are all together.
The work done by families is a daily and vital one. Childhood diabetes and obesity are a time bomb for Mexican society.
If our children continue to grow up with obesity and have kids, they will genetically mark their kids who could develop the disease even younger. It is urgent to develop programs that provide information suited to the sociocultural context of each family.
Diabetes is the second leading cause of death in Mexico after cardiovascular disorders.
We'll wrap up now on a lighter note with our number of the week, 1,161. That's the weight in kilos of America's heaviest pumpkin. The over 1-ton pumpkin was grown by a horticulture teacher in Minnesota. He drove it 35 hours cross-country, where it won the 49th World Championship Pumpkin Weigh-Off in California. And while that American pumpkin is a big one, it's still short of the world record. That honor goes to one grown in Italy last year, coming in at 200 pounds. That's 90 kilos bigger. It's still a great one to carve for Halloween. That wraps it up for this Inside the Americas. Thanks so much for watching. See you again next time for all the news from north to south.